Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our webinar focused on how to get funded through our 1.5 million SEIS pot, which we are allocating in Q1 2022. And what I wanted to do today to introduce myself, my name is Susanne Chishti. I am the CEO and founder of FintechCircle, and we look for the top startups in order to invest in about 10 companies up to £150,000 each, so a total of 1.5 million. And I know that many of you, of course, want to know how to apply and what type of information we're looking for. So I wanted to summarize and take this time to answer all your questions. It will be very interactive, so please feel free to send me your questions in the Q&A section, which is on the top right of your screen. You can just put questions into writing, and then I will come back to them after the official part of the summary is completed. So in summary, we have got, our task is to find the top fintech startups in the UK. And the reason why I say in the UK is because we're looking for those startups who have got who are registered in the UK as a limited company, and therefore have got the ability to provide tax benefits to investors. And these, as you know, in the UK are called SEIS or EIS benefits. We can help both startups, so those ones who are SEIS, are open for SEIS investments, those ones we can help with the fund, but we also can help them with our angel investor network, because the FintechCircle Angel Investor Network consists of about 70 investors who invest in fintech companies only. So we, for SEIS companies, when you apply to us on our website, FintechCircle.com, you get the opportunity to basically apply and be considered for both the fund and the Angel Investor Network. When you're an EIS company, so which basically means that you've raised the first £150,000 already, then you can only apply to the Angel Investor Network, because the fund cannot invest in you anymore because it's only SEIS. So these are the key things to keep in mind. And that's what we will cover today. So let me just switch off the slide here so that I can see you bigger, and hopefully it all makes sense to you. If you've got any questions while I speak, please just put them into the Q&A section on the top right side of your screen. So the question we often get is, how do you apply? So the first thing is you apply online. You come to our website, FintechCircle.com. And the three things you need when you apply is, number one, you need to complete a questionnaire. So when you go on our website, we've got a separate session, a separate URL, where you go in. You will see that easily on the website under investing and funding. And then you need to respond to a list of questions which we want to answer from your point of view in order to compare you against other fintech startups in a similar area, in a similar space. The second thing what we ask for is to submit your investor deck, which is your investor pitch deck, which should be maybe 10 to 20 pages long and should explain an investor why your company is a good investment. That's the bottom line, why should people invest in you? And the third thing we require is an elevator pitch video. And this video you can record yourself. So you can record it on your mobile phone, ask your co-founder, your team members to record you, and should not be more than 3 minutes. And it doesn't have to be professionally done at all. It's really about you giving an elevator pitch. What's your vision? What does your company want to achieve? Why is a great time to invest now to help you go to the next stage? So that's the elevator pitch video. And now let me give you a little bit more detail on the questions, which we want to get answered, as part of the questionnaire. One is about your team. So we want to understand who is behind the company. If you're the co-founder or you're the only founder, who else is working with you to launch the business. And also if you've got any advisors, board advisors, any people who give you almost other validation already, that you're on the right track and people you've spoken to who support you to make your dream come true. So that's really the team. And what we're looking for in terms of team strength is that you're a team which has got unique capabilities. This might be your education, your experience, your previous work achievements, and the combination of skills inside your team, which makes you difficult to copy, difficult to do what you do, because you've got almost like a competitive advantage, ideally, in the deep knowledge and domain expertise in the area you founded your own startup. So that's number one. Number two, what we want to ask you for is what's the problem you're solving? So that's really about, what are the issues which you have found in the market which are unaddressed so far? What are the problems if it's a B2C, or a B2B company? Which problems are you really trying to solve, and how are you doing that? Is in the second or the next question, but we want to understand what is really the big problem you're solving, because that must be something which we also see as a huge issue in the market, which we think it's worth focusing on, and ideally which is scalable globally. So I see we get the first questions coming in. So a very good one. We got one in already. How do we validate our startups? So that's a great one. And maybe what I do, I respond to your questions while you submit them as well. So this question is, how do you validate what you do as a startup? Is really by talking, to advisors, talking to your clients, especially at the beginning of your startup. It is so important to test your assumptions, test your hypothesis about what do you think your business model should be like, and does it make sense? Are people willing to pay as much as you want them to pay? And that's, of course, what we will ask you for in the question. We ask you, what's your business model? Are you business to consumer? Are you business to government? If you're a recti company, maybe, are you B2B? Are you a platform-based business model? So we really want to understand, how do you make money? In terms of business model, what's your financial model? What are the prices, the fees you're charging? What are your costs? What is your profit margin? And submit those details so we can understand more how you will make money and how you will grow your business. The other areas which we also ask for is the go-to-market strategy. And the go-to-market strategy is really, how do you want to enter the market once you've developed your product? And maybe you've got it already developed, you just need to launch now. So that's where we want to understand, how will you go to market? And in terms of go to market, especially when you're a B2B company, but also for a B2C company, we want to know, so who could be your first 5 clients? So it's not enough to talk only about the market size and the market segment you go after, but very in concrete terms, who have you thought about would be your first buyer, your first few buyers. So that's really key to us as well. We've got another question coming in. We are still pre-revenue. Does that matter? It does not matter. So good question. Thank you for that. So when you're a pre-revenue company, I would assume most of our SEIS companies, or many, are pre-revenue, because you've developed your product, you might not have gone to market yet, so you're still pre-revenue, or you might be early revenue, where you already have some early customer traction. But both can apply, so you can apply to the SEIS fund, even if you have not revenues yet, if you're pre-revenue as well. So that's an important point. So I just go through the things to answer in the questionnaire. One is about your product. What exactly is the service you offer? What's the product you developed? Explain it in more details. Then who is your target market? So we want to understand, who is your target customer and how will you go after them, and how do you know the target market? Many of our founders come from the target market, and that's why they understand it inside out, and they saw a problem which they're now trying to solve. The other thing we will ask you is about your sales and marketing strategy, because we want to understand, what is your marketing approach? How will you approach all these customers? And what's your sales strategy? And of course, in this comes the team. Do you have already a salesperson hired, a marketing team member, or are you planning to hire those people with the funds you get? Do you outsource, those activities? Give us more information about your team. And then we want to ask you about competitors. So competitors is really key. Who do you compete against? And the competitors question is often a wider one, because sometimes people say, well, in my exact business, I have no competitors at all. But of course, people are spending money on other companies at the moment. So these are probably, and sometimes it's a status quo, which is your biggest competitor. Sometimes companies say the biggest competitor is Excel spreadsheets, because people still use Excel instead of moving to better solutions, in certain analytics software developments, for example, which we see where, lots of company or lots of people in financial institutions still use Excel. So and a competitor is often the status quo. So we want to understand, where do you think is your competitor, and how do you want to move people away from there towards you? So how do you really want to attract them? And then when we look at competitors, we want to see what's your competitive advantage. So how do you stand out? How do you want to stand out? What are your key benefits in terms of your own products, your own solutions? So these are the key things, we ask you in the questionnaire, which also should come out obviously in your slide deck, in your investor deck. And again, please feel free to ask any questions in the Q&A. I see them coming in. Okay, so the question here is, we've developed our company outside the UK. We do have a UK limited company. Are we allowed to pitch? Yes, you are. So we are very much open to, company founders from all over the world. As long as you've got a UK limited company, you can submit your application. And you can submit your application, and we will send out the deadline again, at the bottom of this webinar. But you can submit your application now in order to be considered, for the fund and for the FintechCircle Investor Network. Finally, I wanted to cover today your investor pitch deck. So the investor pitch deck, which you want to submit to us, should be a document, almost like the first document you want to show investors. When they get to know you for the first time, give them the story about, the company. And at the end, you need, a page on financials, a financial forecast, but of course, high level. You need a team page, a very strong team page. And there are lots of, when you Google, there are lots of ideas. What are the top 10 slides you need to have in your pitch deck? We use often Guy Kawasaki, as one model. He's got top 10 slides in a pitch deck. We recommend about 10 to 20 slides you want to submit. So it shouldn't be more than that, because a first-time investor wouldn't look at more. They first want to get to know the essence. So it's really about, for you, the challenge to summarize the essence of what you do in about 10 to 20 slides and submit it to us. So these are the key things, I wanted to cover. Again, the elevator pitch video, you can also submit that and send it to us. We've got, another question coming in here. I'm not a fintech. Can I still apply? Or is it only for fintechs? Yes, unfortunately, it's only for fintech companies. So, and the reason is because our fund and our fintech investor network only invests in fintech startups. So that's really our focus. We only invest in fintech companies. The other thing I should say is we very much encourage diversity. So we would love to get more applications in from diverse founders, from female founders, female entrepreneurs. So please submit your applications to us, and we will consider it for both the fund and also the investor network. And with that said, if you've got any more questions which you might not have been able to ask me today, just come to us, email us at info@fintechcircle.com. So that's info@ FintechCircle.com, and you can reach out to our team and get any other questions answered to you. So with that, I thank you all for joining our webinar today. I hope it was helpful to give you, the last information you need to submit your application and be part of our companies which we fund. And as I said at the beginning, Fintech Circle is all about smart capital. We are a group of 130,000 fintech enthusiasts, investors, entrepreneurs, lots of people in financial services who buy fintech products. And our goal is, of course, to help our startups with this global reach, which we've got by helping you share your successful fundraising, share your achievements, your product launches with our global community as well. So you've got, this access to really smart capital, and our investors know what they're doing because they all come from the fintech and from the finance background. That's what they invest in. So that's a good thing to have experts, on your cap table. And the other thing I wanted to say in terms of valuations, we often get asked, what should be the typical valuation? There's not really a valuation, a typical one, but you as a startup, you have to think about what is your company worth, considering that you will have to raise more money, probably in the next 18 months, and you'd never want a down round. So you always want to increase your valuation. So that's something to always plan for. And you just submit it to us. We will review it. We will tell you if it's overvalued. We will tell you if you find it's, there are many competitors out there with lower valuation. So you can consider and then review it, yourself to see what's the right valuation for you. And so now I wish you all good luck, for your application process. Submit your application soon. The sooner the better, because we will start reviewing them literally tomorrow and go through all the applications we have received, and then invite you. So the next steps is, if you are chosen among all companies which apply, you will be invited to selection days. Those selection days take place in front of a jury of investors. And these investors will ask you, lots of questions. It will be a pitching session to our jury of investors. And then normally we invite, we've got about 60 to 100 applications, for example, for an angel investor network. We select the top 16 companies to the selection days. And then we choose the top 50% again, which are chosen to go further to our angel investor network, and who get coaching help and get support to present and to investors in the best possible way to help you with your fundraising journey. And so for our fund, we will do the same thing. We will review all of the applications and go through to the selection days, and invite the best companies to present to our jury in order then to decide which companies we want to make the offer for. And the offer again is £150,000 if you've not yet raised SES funding before. If you already have, let's say, £75,000 allocated, we would invest up to then the remaining amount in SES, which you've got available, and the other amounts under EIS, we can help you with on the investor network. So that's all today. So thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining the Fintech Circle webinar on investing and get fundraising successfully organized for your startups. Contact us at FintechCircle.com and email us at info@FintechCircle.com for any further questions. Thank you very much, and we wish you all the best.